what would you recommend for visualizations for like the fundamentals of a good landing?
Yeah, well, I'll break it down in, there's different parts of the body that you need to have specific awareness about. And so sort of starting from the top down. So my hands feel tension on the brakes, just a little, so that I'm not all the way up here with this delay in the effect of my flare. So that's the beginning of it. My hands are activating the tail of the parachute. My elbows are back so that I'm already leaning into my main lift web. I'm already pressing into the chest strap. I feel that. I'm looking towards where I'm going, right? So I'm visualizing that space on the earth, that piece of grass that's not going up or down. It's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because that's the site of least activity. There's no change. When you look at that, it's just gradually coming bigger. And as I do that, I'm also aware of my surround, or I'm aware of my peripheral vision. I'm not just tunnel vision looking at that point. So add that to your visualization as well. Right. And I'm seeing the motion as I come closer. The lower body should already be kind of knees up, butt back a little bit. The feet should already, at this point, I would suggest either feet and knees together. If your landings have been really iffy, start with that, because you can always change from this into 1 foot in front, 1 foot in back once you begin the flare process. That said, there's a point where your flares are actually starting to be pretty good. You are leveling off the canopy, maybe a little high, maybe a little low sometimes, but it's becoming more consistent. I think it's a little simpler to already have your feet in that posture before you flare, right? So 1 in front, 1 in back. You can still roll to either side, even if your feet are split this way. It's not like you have to have 1 foot way out in front of you. I call it the Rockettes foot, like the dancers. So you don't want it way out in front, because that's going to tilt your upper body back. Just to hold the leg up, your shoulders naturally want to come back. So you're just lifting your knees, but you're not trying to have your knees up and down. You're lifting both knees up, but the lower leg is splitting fore and aft. I can't do it with my fingers, but like this. And in that lower foot, the one that's under your body, is this way, not this way. So you visualize, I'm coming in, I'm looking in that general direction, and I'm engaging my brakes. I'm staying forward. I'm in a small body position with my knees up. I have my feet in the right posture. And now add to this, I'm breathing in a relaxed way. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling an anticipation of fun. You know what I mean? Like you can hear the bells of the ice cream truck, where you're psyched. You get to land instead of, oh, I'm going to land and this is out of my control. Get into an engaged moment of joy. And phase 1 of the flare is to level the canopy off. If you're late, you got to be quick about that first motion. If you realize, whoa, I'm really, really low. Yes, you are going to stab those brakes until you feel the lift. And then you're going to slow down as soon as you feel that lift, and keep those hands moving down and push the end with a little bit more oomph. The last like 12 to 14 inches of brakes minimum to get that stopping power, because you're kind of sinking down into that sort of a landing. But in a normal one is more smooth at the beginning and then push a little sharper in the middle of the flare. Smooth, sharper, and I feel that lift. Add that imagination into the, that part of it, the weight gain in the round out to level flight, as you lift your eyes to look a little bit further. And now you just see the ground going by and you go, oh, wow, this is fun. And you're not looking down at the ground and turning it into the earth. You're going to try to make that parachute fly as far as you can. Right. And it will fly shorter if you stop flaring in the middle of it, because it'll sink into the ground. It'll fly shorter if you lift your hands, and it'll fly shorter if you lift one of your hands. So you just keep those hands gradually, smoothly, continually pushing down, right, all the way to the end of it, and visualize as things sort of slow down at the end. You're not going to lean forward and reach with your feet in front of you for your first steps. You're going to let it come to you. You're going to keep that foot underneath your butt and just wait for the earth and step on that foot and dive forward with your chest into the next step, that foot that was in front of you a little bit. And you keep those hands down right through that first step. And as soon as you start running, the hands come up a little bit, come up to like half breaks as you're running it out. So the canopy doesn't dump behind you, stall, and pull you over, right? So as you're running, you got to get those hands back up as if you were doing a touch and go paragliding, where you land on the top of a hill and then you take off again, right? You're still flying. It's just that in order to run with a wing over your head, you can't be in deep brakes. It doesn't work that way. You have to minimize the drag on the canopy so it stays over your head. And then you don't get dragged if it's windy too. That's another perk. So that's sort of the whole visualization I want you to picture, but there's sort of the visualization, right, of what does it look like? There's the somatic sensation of what does my body feel like as I'm doing it? That's another aspect. And then there's the emotional visualization of how do you want to feel, right? Not how you have felt. You know what I mean? In the past, that's already gone. And it probably wasn't optimal yet. You probably haven't had that quintessential moment where, it's a holy thing, when you touch down and the angels sing, like, yes, that is how one skydives, maybe it hasn't happened yet, but it doesn't mean it can't start now in your head. It's hard for the body to go where the mind hasn't gone first. So you picture not only these other aspects of what it looks like and what it feels like in the body, but the emotional component of feeling powerful and happy, joyful, playful, and safe within your power. Yeah. There's that.
Thank you.
No problem. No problem. Even visualize, I think I would add one aspect is how is it going to feel after you touch down after your rock star landing? How is it going to feel as you're touching it down and the parachute goes onto the ground and you're standing there in the middle of this field, right in the middle of the target, and everybody's like, wow, did you see Nicole's landing? Picture that component too, of that feeling of, like the static electricity just goes away. I'm picturing a magnet with metal filings. If you ever have a magnet underneath the table and the metal filings all go boop and they all stand up, you take the magnet away. So that's the relief that comes as a result of a really skillful landing, a well-executed landing where you really fly that parachute to the end of its capabilities. You fly to its lowest possible speed at the lowest possible altitude. You know what I mean? Not the lowest possible where your butt is on the ground, but where your feet are within touching distance through the end of your landing. Even if there's a pop-up in the middle of it, you manage it. Even if you're a little low at first and you bring it back up, you manage your flight, you settle things out, and you wring out the sponge by pushing those toggles all the way into it. And you touch down and go, wow, right? That was easy.